I don't care who let you in. You are a security risk. Get your hands off that terminal and get out of my building before I have you arrested for industrial espionage." The words echoed through the data center of the Apex Tower in London's Canary Wharf. Alistair Bryce, the newly hired director of operations, wasn't just yelling, he was panicking. He looked at the woman standing at the main console, Sade Williams. She was wearing a faded hoodie, cargo pants, and sneakers. She looked like a tired student, or maybe a janitor on a break. Alistair saw a trespasser. He saw a nobody. But he was wrong. He didn't know that the nobody in the hoodie was the only person on Earth who knew the encryption key to the bank's central core. And he definitely didn't know that the £6 billion currently transferring through the system was about to vanish into thin air if she didn't press that button in the next 60 seconds. Alistair smirked as security dragged her out. He thought he had saved the day. He had actually just cost the bank more money than the GDP of a small country. 15 minutes earlier, the mood in the Apex Tower was pure chaos. The Obsidian trading algorithm, the bank's crown jewel, had frozen. Trading had stopped, liquidity was drying up, and a queue of international transfers totaling £6 billion was stuck in digital limbo. In the boardroom, Alistair Bryce was sweating through his bespoke Savile Row suit. He had been hired 3 days ago to modernize the department. His first move? He fired the legacy IT team to cut costs. Now the system was crashing, and he had no one to fix it. "I don't care! Get me a contractor! Get me anyone who speaks Python! Just fix it!" That's when Sade Williams walked in. She bypassed the reception. She bypassed the security gates using a keycard that looked 10 years old. She walked straight into the elevator and hit B2 for the server floor. She didn't look like a savior. She looked exhausted. She'd been awake for 48 hours working on a patch from her home office, watching the bank's sloppy updates destroy her life's work. She wasn't an employee, not anymore, but she wasn't going to let her code die. Sade was in the zone. Her fingers flew across the mechanical keyboard. Code, patch, reroute, bypass. She was performing open-heart surgery on a digital beast. Then, the door banged open. Alistair marched in, flanked by Ken, a security guard who looked more like a bouncer. "Hey!" Alistair shouted. "You! Step away from the machine!" Sade didn't look up. "I'm busy. The latency is spiking. If I stop now, the cache corrupts." Alistair turned purple. He wasn't used to being ignored, especially not by someone wearing a hoodie in his server room. "I said step away! Who are you? Where is your badge?" Sade finally paused. She turned, her eyes tired but sharp. "I don't have a badge, Alistair. My badge expired 5 years ago when I sold this software to you. Now let me finish or you're going to lose the Asia-Pacific transfer." Alistair blinked. He didn't hear, "I sold this software." All he heard was, "I don't have a badge." Prejudice is a funny thing. It filters out facts and leaves only assumptions. Alistair looked at Sade, a black woman in casual clothes, and his brain couldn't compute tech genius. It computed intruder. "You're hacking the system," Alistair concluded, his voice trembling with self-righteous fury. "Ken, remove her, immediately!" "Sade, don't do this. Look at the screen. That progress bar? That's a logic lock. If you pull me away before it hits 100%, the encryption key shreds itself. The money doesn't just get stuck, Alistair, it gets deleted." "Alistair, do you think I'm an idiot? That's exactly what a hacker would say. You're holding the system ransom." "Sade, I'm saving your job!" Sade snapped, her voice echoing off the metal racks. "I built this architecture. I wrote the Obsidian kernel. Check the logs. My signature is on every line of code." Alistair. "Lies. The Obsidian kernel was built by a team of engineers in Silicon Valley, not some squatter in a basement." The insult hung in the air. Squatter. Sade went quiet. She looked at Alistair, really looked at him. She saw the fear in his eyes, masked by arrogance. She realized then that he wasn't protecting the bank. He was protecting his ego. He couldn't admit that he needed help from someone who didn't look like him. "Ken," Alistair barked, "get her out, now!" Sometimes you have to let people touch the stove to learn that it's hot. Sade realized she couldn't stop them, so she decided to let them see what happens when the fire gets out of control. If you've ever had a boss who refused to listen to the expert, hit that like button. Let's see how Alistair handles the heat. Ken grabbed Sade's arm. Come on, miss. Don't make it hard. Sade raised her hands. I'm not fighting. But remember this timestamp, Ken. 10:42 a.m. This is when the lights go out. They dragged her away from the console. As soon as her fingers left the keyboard, the hum of the servers changed pitch. It went from a steady drone to a high-pitched whine. On the main screen, the green progress bar froze at 99%. Then it turned red. Error. User disconnected. Integrity failure. Initiating lockdown. Alistair didn't look at the screen. He was too busy watching Sade being shoved into the elevator. And stay out! He shouted as the doors closed. I'm calling the police! He turned back to the room, adjusting his tie, feeling like a hero. Crisis averted, he muttered. Then he looked at the big screen. Wait, what does data purge mean? Alistair was frantically pressing buttons, but the screen was locked. Password incorrect. Password incorrect. The room was flashing red. The cooling fans were screaming. The door opened. Alistair spun around. Thank God! Sir Richard, you're here! We had a breach! A hacker! I neutralized the threat, but she planted a virus. Sir Richard, the chairman of the bank, walked in. He wasn't looking at Alistair. He was looking at the red screens with a look of absolute horror. And standing next to him, brushing off her hoodie, was Sade. A hacker? Sir Richard asked, his voice shaking. Yes! Alistair pointed at Sade. Her! I caught her accessing the core. I had her removed. Sir Richard closed his eyes. He looked like he was in physical pain. Alistair, Richard whispered, do you know who this is? She's a freelancer? A criminal? This is Sade Williams, Richard roared, his voice breaking. She is the founder of Obsidian Tech. We bought this system from her for £50 million. She is the only person in the world with the admin keys. Alistair froze. He looked at Sade. Sade leaned against the doorframe, crossing her arms. I tried to tell him, Richard. I told him the latency was spiking. I told him not to touch the terminal. But he thought I was the cleaning lady. Suddenly the alarms stopped. The screens went black. The room went silent. Alistair laughed nervously. See? It stopped. The virus is gone. Sade checked her watch. No, Alistair, the virus isn't gone. The money is gone. She walked over to the dead terminal. That wasn't a reboot. That was the failsafe. Because I wasn't there to authorize the handshake, the system assumed it was being hacked. So it did exactly what I programmed it to do. It dumped the cash, Sir Richard whispered, his face pale. £6 billion, Sade said, calm, cold. Frozen in the blockchain. It will take 6 months and a court order from The Hague to get that money back. Your liquidity is zero. You are insolvent. Alistair backed away. No, that's impossible. I was just following protocol. Security. You fired the protocol, Sir Richard screamed, and then you assaulted the architect. Sade walked up to Alistair. She reached into his pocket and pulled out his ID badge. You were worried about badges, Alistair? Here, you don't need this anymore. She dropped it on the floor. The Apex Tower didn't open the next day. The bank's stock plummeted 40% by noon. Alistair Bryce wasn't just fired. He was sued for negligence and blacklisted from every financial institution in London. Sir Richard managed to save the bank, but only because Sade agreed to come back as a consultant. Her fee? Double the original price. And a new rule. No one touches her keyboard. Sade walked out of the building into the London rain. She pulled up her hood. She was still wearing the same cargo pants. She still looked like a nobody to the people rushing by. But she knew the truth. Power isn't about the suit you wear. It's about who holds the keys when the lights go out. Hey there, before you go, I want to hear from you. Alistair thought he was protecting the company, but his bias cost them billions. What's the biggest mistake you've seen a boss make because they refuse to listen? Tell me your story in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this movie, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.